Well, thank you everyone for being here on a Sunday. It's really great to have you. I was asked to speak about Pivot, and instead of going through the usual organizational spiel, I thought I'd just share a little bit of a personal history from me. So nearly 4 years ago, on a rainy and dreary Sunday in January, I drove for an hour and a half in the rain from Berkeley to San Jose to a stranger's house to basically meet with a bunch of strangers, a bunch of Vietnamese Americans. I was asked by An Tom, who you all know, Bác sĩ Tâm Nguyen, who is Pivot's founder and president, to come. And while he and I had worked together for over 10 years on health research, we really hadn't done anything like this when it comes to politics together. And I've stayed away from the Vietnamese American politics in general. But after the 2016 elections, I think all of our hearts were heavy. We were scared, we were angry. And for me, what was really scary was thinking about the 50,000 patients that we serve at Asian Health Services, many of whom are low income, immigrants from Asia, immigrants and refugees from Asia. I was also really scared for my DACA staff and what would happen to them and the undocumented families. So I took that big leap of faith that day. Shortly after that meeting, Pivot was founded, a fledgling national organization trying to offer space for progressive Vietnamese Americans. None of that was easy. There was lots and lots of animated debates about our name, who's in it, who's progressive, what's woke. But throughout it all, I would say that our hearts and our passion remained steadfast because we were bounded by two driving forces. First, we needed to get rid of Trump, period. But second, that we as Vietnamese Americans owe it to humanity to really fight for the underserved, to really protect the rights of the most vulnerable, because we were once that group standing at the borders, hoping and really preying on the compassion of others to let us in. Yet nearly 4 years later, here we are, anti-immigrant policies that cage children and separated families at the borders, the public charge rule change that criminalized immigrants for using basic services like healthcare and food assistance and threatens to deport them, attacks on women's bodies and our rights, attacks on our LGBTQ community, and the ongoing, killing of Black people, and the awful mishandling of this pandemic. Yet despite all of this vicious attacks, we are facing having this despicable administration continue. So there are days when it feels hard to get up and to continue to fight because you seriously wonder about the state of morality in this nation. It feels especially that way when we see data on our own people supporting Trump, the same refugees that benefited from the compassion by solidarity shown by Black leaders even before they even knew us, they were standing up for us. And yet some of our people are willing to support a racist candidate to deny others of human rights and dignity. But just like the 4 years ago when I drove in the rain, headed to meet a bunch of strangers, I chose to fight back and not be weighed down by helplessness and hopelessness. I also didn't think that those same people, some of them will become some of my closest friends, and that I would somehow find my tribe. Because in the face of adversity, there's always that glimmer of hope. In the last few months, Pivot put over half of our budget to invest in Pivot Fellows in battleground states, and we're going to introduce you to some of them, all of them soon. We sold masks, we sold t-shirts, and we reached deep into a pocket to raise funds. And as I look at these young leaders, I'm reminded of that powerful quote, "They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds." So what is Pivot? Pivot really is what you make of it. But the bigger thing is about locking arms and standing as a united front, despite our differences, because there is a greater fight to be fought. We're not trying to sell you our brand. We're just trying to rally all of us up to rise up and to take action. So for those of you who've traveled with Pivot on this journey, on behalf of our board, we thank you for your labor of love. For those of you who are new, we thank you for taking that big leap of faith. And we hope that we can take action together. Together, we can be a force. Together, we can do the deep work of organizing, of not letting our community stay on the sidelines and be manipulated by lies. Together, we can push back on the racists and the bullies, including the ones in our own community. As refugees and children of refugees, we truly are the ones we've been waiting for.